rise for the pledge.
I'll make that motion.
Bingham to second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. All right, first up, Amanda Primiano from the Monroe Free Library.
Good evening. It's on?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
on.
great.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here tonight and share some of the updates going on at the library. September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month. If you don't already have a library card, you are definitely missing out. Your Monroe Free Library Card gives you access to over 15 million print and digital resources that are free. These include books, print books, DVDs, CDs, tools, museum passes, one-on-one support, programming, and so much more. This month, for anyone who signs up with a library card, will automatically be entered into a raffle to win 2 tickets to the upcoming play in November at the Playhouse at Museum Village. It's easy to sign up for a library card. You can go onto our website and fill out the form, and we'll mail you your card. If you want to stop into the library and fill out the form, you can get your card right there on the spot. Some other things going on at the library include we're wrapping up our Around the World series, which was a 6-month series celebrating different continents of the world, culture, tradition, language, etc. So we're ending the series with a party this Saturday from 1 to 3, rain or shine. The community is welcome to come play games from around the world, sample global cuisine from local restaurants, enjoy live music from around the world, and of course, we will be drawing the raffles for our grand prize winners. We are going to be hosting a number of focus groups in October and November to gain some additional insight from the community about the library's space and services. We're about our halfway point from our long-range plan, and we realize we need a little bit more data to execute the plan and look forward to the next 5 years of what the community needs and how the library can fill those needs. Lastly, this fall, we are hosting a series of programs for all ages, which includes basic crochet, estate planning, computer classes. We are also offering fun fall activities for the kids, a 6-week basic ESL course that's going to be offered in the daytime as well as in the nighttime. We're going to be having our last Movies on the Lawn, September 13th. It's going to be Kung Fu Panda. And lastly, on October 5th, we will be having our community yard sale. We're still looking for vendors. It's a great event. If you want to come out and be a vendor, it's $20 for the first slot, $10 for any slot after that. We hope you join us for the community yard sale and all the exciting things going on at the library.
Thank you.
Times, what are the times of the yard sale?
9 to 4. Yeah, we just started advertising it. So we usually accept vendors probably, I'd say October 1st is pretty much the cutoff for vendors. And that's rain or shine, and there is no rain date this year. So either it's going to happen or it's not. Yep.
Amanda, can you just state what museums are included in those museum passes?
Oh, absolutely. It's the Empire Pass, it's Museum Village, it's the DIA, that's in Beacon, it's Motorcyclepedia, American History, American Natural Museum of History, Storm King. I feel like I'm missing a few. There's like 2 more.
The Hudson Children's Museum is on that.
No,
Bill
they
Hold?
don't
Bill-
offer it anymore.
Bill Hold?
No, but we just added the 9/11 one, so the 9/11 museum is going to be on there as well. And we're always looking for recommendations for museum passes, but it just depends on what museums offer passes to the libraries. But it's a great service. I mean, even the Empire Pass and the Storm King Pass, so many people. Oh, Bethel. Bethel Woods, that's one of our other museum passes. It's great, oh, and the Intrepid, that was the other one. It's a great day out if you're looking to take your family into the city. It's a great day trip, pass, all free. Great. All right.
Thank you.
Good job, Amanda.
Great, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much,
Take
Amanda.
care.
Hey, I'm going to do the quick announcements first before we get to Museum Village and Bill Lemansky. So on Monday, September 9th, the mobile DMV from the Orange County DMV will be here 10 to 12, closed from 12 to 1, and then they're open from 1 to 3:30. All registrations, all license, including real and enhanced, and then also any enforcement transactions. Once again, it's September 9th from 10 to 3:30. Next up is the Farmers Market in the Village. It's every Sunday through October 27th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Mill Pond Commuter Lot. They have live music there and great veggies and food and other accessories for your gastro delights. Yeah, I said live music. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Bill Lemansky from Museum Village. Come on up, Bill.
Greetings.
Good evening. Thanks for being here.
I'd like to thank you all for enabling my colleague and I to speak on behalf of the Museum Village. Some of you I know quite well and others not. My name is Bill Lemansky, and I'm on the Board of Trustees with my colleague Rick for the Museum Village of Old Smith's Clove here in Monroe and Blooming Grove. I'm sure you've all read.
Turn the mic up a little,
Oh, sure.
please. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
I'm sure you've all read the recent article in the Photo News about the economic challenges we're having now at the museum. And they're quite daunting. We've been developing a number of strategies to bring in some additional revenue, but what we are experiencing isn't unique to the Museum Village. I just want to read a couple of stats to you. The New York State funding for museums is down 20 to 30%. Is down 20 to 30% of the museums have closed in the state of New York. So it's a difficult time for all of us. However, we've probably experienced more problems than some of the others, perhaps. For 2 years, we were closed during COVID, and we weren't doing that well prior to COVID, and we didn't even spring back post-COVID to the level we were at in terms of both hosting visitors and bringing in finances. One of the revenue streams we're looking to pursue is up in Albany. So we're going to be lobbying some of the elected officials in Albany. And pursuant to that, what I'm doing, and I will request of this board, if you're willing to do it, is I'm going to the municipalities in the region, requesting each to provide us with a letter to whom it may concern, just stating the value and benefit of the Museum Village, not only to the municipalities, the communities right in this immediate area, but to the entire region here in the Hudson Valley. We have, next year we're going to be celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Museum Village. And over the years we've hosted, and I'm not exaggerating, it's not hyperbole, we've hosted tens of thousands, if not over 100,000 school children, as well as adults. We're chartered by the New York State Board of Regents as an educational institution. So for the museum to close would be a great loss for all of us. So again, I'm requesting from municipalities, and I'm going to be going to the village here, Harriman, Blooming Grove, and my own hometown of Tuxedo to request letters, again, to whom it may concern. If you could just express your opinion or the value and the benefit the museum has done in the past for the region, it's doing in the present, and what we hope to do going forward in the future.
Bill, what's your email?
WEL real estate, that's all one string of characters, at optonline.net.
WEL.
WEL, my initials.
All right, we'll have a letter to you tomorrow.
Oh, I really appreciate that.
And you said at Opt Online?
OptOnline, yes. The museum has funding for operations for 6 weeks going forward. We have other problems besides funding to pay for staff. The museum is deteriorating. It's literally falling apart. I'm a volunteer consulting engineer over there also. In fact, we just had, for about a month and a half, 3 buildings lost electricity. So I spent time over there with a multimeter testing voltages in all of the panels, and it was due to a bad circuit breaker. The distribution system, without going into a lot of detail, is daisy-chained. So one building feeds the next, feeds the next. So we lost 3 buildings until I put a new found where the problem was and put a new circuit breaker in. But we have leaky roofs. I mean, some of the buildings have openings in the walls. I could throw a dead cat through them. They're so large.
So Bill, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
You guys are you're chartered by New York State Education.
That's correct.
Are you a trust? How does it work if, let's say, somebody wanted to purchase Museum Village and keep it as is with deed restrictions, et cetera? How would that work? Where would that money go to?
Well, we have fiduciary responsibility as board members. We don't own anything, and no one owns anything, really. We have had people and organizations approach us to sell off some real estate, which I think was done in the past before my time over there. And we're currently toying with the idea of doing that.
So your goal is to essentially keep Museum Village operating, and there's no monetary value to anyone if it's sold.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Now we have.
So I just want to present this to you. I want to
Sure.
present this to you because the county executive and I have spoken about this for the last 2 months. The county would take it over. They would put deed restrictions in there. They would maintain the integrity of the artifacts. And they would invest quite a bit of money to bring it up to snuff. And I think that's an option that really should be considered. The only thing is the county, since no one is basically making any money off of it, the county would like it for $1 because of all the money they're going to have to invest into it to get it back to where it would flourish.
In an effort to keep it open, we'd be very pleased with that. But I've had a meeting with the county supervisor, Steve Newhouse, as you know quite well, I guess, about 4 or 5 months ago. And what I was told at the time is that they already own 10 historical structures.
That's what I heard as well, yeah.
And
in
they
very
don't have
recent
the money to
conversation.
upkeep those. So the supervisor told me they really couldn't.
County exec, you mean?
The county executive.
The county historian also had multiple chats with the
Yeah.
executive, and
Okay.
I reached out also to County Executive Newhouse, and while he's open to discussing, how he could be of assistance, I heard directly from the county historian that they are struggling with making revenue, and in the
Precisely.
same way that you are struggling, and that to take that on may even be a disservice under ownership, but that, I think it's important. I mean, in motion last meeting, that the town of Monroe investigate any possible capacity where we could be of assistance, and I think this is an ongoing discourse. I know you guys are having a presentation September 10th. I spoke with the executive director, Jamie Robinson.
Right.
I've spoken with Senator Scoofus' office. There are a lot of people trying to dive in and offer solutions, and that Museum Village itself has a grand vision and a proposal that they're putting forth that we'd spoken about. So I don't think that necessarily jives with us or specifically the county taking ownership, but it's a continuing discourse, and I think it's important that you're here.
Yeah, understood. I mean, we're doing everything we can, and we have some optimism in certain areas. And as I said, we're going to pursue elected officials in Albany, which my request for a letter from other municipalities certainly will help. But we have three or four options, actually. Maintain management of the museum village and keep it open as we have for 75 years. Another one would be, another would be to divest the museum of the collection. It has to go to other museums. Or we could sell it, and the finances from that will have to go to other museums in the state. So those are our three options. But option number one is what we want to pursue, obviously. And that's the situation as it is.
I will reiterate what I said. There was a conversation yesterday with one of your former board members, myself, and County Executive Newhouse. So that is a viable option for you if you choose to go that route, that the county would take it over and would invest money in it. I don't know what happened 4 or 5 months ago, but that's a possibility.
Well, I will follow up on that. Thank you
Yeah.
for informing me.
Yeah.
I will pursue that very diligently, in addition
I
to buttonholing the Albany folks,
Yeah.
you know.
wanted to, because Jamie did send me, and we did discuss like what his plans and what they're going to be presenting. I know that they are going to be asking, they've already pursued, offices like the State Center, like I've mentioned, for grant money, which is, he's always been a resource to Museum Village, which is fantastic. The last time that I heard anything from the county executive coming out of that office was, that there would have to be employee layoffs, and that was where it was left, and the budget balancing wasn't getting you there. I know that you guys actually looking for a line item in the state budget through Robinek's office currently, and that's the
Exactly,
letter
right.
that you guys are looking to sign on to.
Yep.
And then there's like a collection. There's really like an all or nothing sort of push forward to become a new space, a new sphere, to become a year-round facility, and to make a new building. That's what I've heard from the state senator's office, which is lovely, and from Jamie.
Right
And-
now, we're a seasonal
Yeah,
facility,
which
as you
is
probably know.
really restricting, and it's impressive how many students you actually facilitate and are able to educate, even though you're a part-time outside facility. So that's really great that if County Executive Newhouse is willing to, come to the table with that level of support, that it seems that we would all be able to sit down and like negotiate. And especially, I think it's important that we, as elected officials, attend the open call on September 10th, the call to action that you guys are having, and then maybe coordinate more our efforts and get on that same page, because like I said, it's like a lot of different narratives coming from people all wanting to help. And I think the county historian has a point where if there are other solutions, partial ownerships, or like municipalities that can have line items for you guys in our budgets, anything like that, that can help where you guys remain independent. If you're successful in any of these measures, that would be, the goal. We wouldn't want to step in the way of that success if it were possible. We want to prevent you guys from being developed at the same time.
So let me ask you this, and I ask this because just about 7% of the property is in Monroe.
That's
The
correct.
other 93% is in the town of Blooming Grove.
That's correct.
Have you approached Supervisor Geralman?
No, I don't believe we have, but he's on the list.
Yeah.
He's on the list.
Still-
We don't want to leave any stone
No, yeah, exactly.
unturned.
Make sure he's there
Okay.
on September 10th, or someone.
Mr. Lemansky?
As I said, I'm from Tuxedo, and I intend to jump on them as well as I can. So, well, listen, I really appreciate,
Councilwoman Hool has a question
Oh,
for
I'm
you.
sorry.
So I'm just curious, prior to 2019, what was your primary source of revenue?
our bread and butter really is school children.
Having the school children come in? And so since 2019, because of the pandemic and the shutdowns, you've lost those class trips?
Well, we lost some because the funding that was available through the federal government has been diminished. So some of the schools have canceled out for lack of funding. We have a problem with some of the buildings that aren't accessible for safety reasons because the infrastructure, as I mentioned, is failing.
Just-
One or two schools decided they're not going to come because we don't have enough buildings open. We're not ADA compliant. Some of the schools have been complaining about that because if they have one handicapped student, they can't bring the
Okay,
class
so
in.
Speak
I'm
to
gonna have you
that.
stop, I'm gonna have you
Yeah.
stop right there. With respect to handicap, you submit an application to CDBG, and I just about guarantee you,
To who? I'm sorry.
to the CDBG, it's a Community Development Block
Oh.
Grant in the county. And I guarantee you, this year it was 175,000 that folks got. And if you develop a plan for all your handicap areas, I think if you submit it, I could almost guarantee you would prosper from that. I will put you in touch with Nicole Anderson. You could reach out to her. Probably won't happen till next year, because this year they've already been approved.
I
So the
appreciate that. If you
county
could put that
historian
information on the email.
Yes, yeah.
did
would
let
be
me
great.
know that the ADA compliance cost, if the county, they are actually obligated, a municipality and a county, I believe. I know the county is. I don't know if we as a municipality would be obligated, but I believe so, that the estimated cost of bringing Museum Village up to compliance ADA would be 1.2 million. So
It
we're
would
going to
be
want to.
serious money,
It would be.
but-
And so there's not, that's an issue with acquiring the property that we want to really hammer out. It's one of those really, if we could do this, this would be amazing for everyone, but there are serious hurdles.
Even if we had some funding for that, so we could provide access to some of our premier, what we consider to be our premier buildings.
But even if you had 1.2 million, you'd be okay. You
Well,
wouldn't be here.
Oh,
So it's,
I'd be dancing in the streets
Yeah.
if that would occur, I can
Yeah.
assure you. Is there any other questions I can answer? Because my colleague Rick wants to say a few words as well. I don't want to take up all of your time without him speaking.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to address a few items that were going over and that you had asked about
Do me a favor for everyone out there, just state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rick Cologne.
The infamous. The infamous.
And
The
I'm-
beloved.
Here is a private citizen and also as a member of the board. In 2012, that was the biggest sell-off of property, and that was across the street from Museum Village. It's now a landscaping business. In 2014, the property was mortgaged, and now there's a fixed cost of $1,800 a month, I believe. A monthly expense of $1,800 monthly, and that's in addition to everything else. Now, when it gets to COVID, the reason we didn't get much money in COVID was because they laid off a lot of people during the pandemic. Since they didn't keep them on board, they didn't get a lot of money. So that was another strike against them. And in 2023, $288,000 was raised to keep the museum going. However, $18,000 was also given as far as discounts to schools. So once again, I mean, you talk about numbers, but the problem with a museum is that you have ongoing costs, fixed costs. And when you talk about ADA compliant, not only are you just putting in the bathrooms, but you also have to put in the sewer lines, the water lines, and everything else that goes along with it. Now, as far as fundraising goes, I had put the museum, I had Jamie Robinson, who's the director. I put him in touch with our friend Dave Jenkins, who's with Millennium Strategies. And so we're working on a strategy to get grants for the museum. I'm going to be working with him about obtaining grants. We're going to be redoing also their website, and that's going to be pretty exciting. So you're going to be seeing some differences there. Now, Museum Village, I believe, is paramount, and people were talking about, the comment was made about that the county and the town surrounding it will not get any effect back. But it's called the Guggenheim effect. And what that does is it means that 20 to 50% of the home values will go up once you have a museum. And we have to keep this museum going. I think it's going to have a positive effect not only on home values, but also bringing in more commerce and more tourism to this part of the county. I mean, we have, Woodbury Commons nearby. We should be capitalizing on that. I think there's a lot that can be offered here, and we do need your help, as well as every other town in the county, to see what we can do to keep Museum Village. I think it's very viable, and I think it's important, and I really do appreciate your time, giving us your time and time to address this with, the people of Monroe, and we're certainly going to be making the rounds around the county.
What is the yearly operating cost?
Annual operating costs are somewhere in the neighborhood of $240,000. That's minimal, and that's just having your whole staff as part-time employees.
So Jamie sent me just some talking points just so I would be prepared because I wanted some
Very
facts.
good.
So I'll help you out.
Do you have an exact number?
I do. So for context, 2019, the actual operations was 357,000.
357.
CPI in 2024 would be 459,600. But it was unable to keep up with the structures, unable to keep up with staff or develop new exhibits and educational programs. So in 2022, the actual operational budget was 256,400.
That's what I was quoting.
And in 2023, the actual operational budget was 288,600, including, unfortunately, $94,000 from their savings.
Now, mind you, those figures do not include, they are very, very, very limited in resources as far as computer software. There is no website. Everything is on cards. Everything has to be moved over to digital, and that's so you can track everything, so people have more access.
Do you know if your savings is in an endowment form?
There aren't any savings, basically. They're really basically in very dire straits.
That's
Councilwoman
3 months.
Richardson said there was just money taken from the savings.
So
that
I
was
don't
part of the
have,
endowment, yes.
yeah, I don't
But
have
there is an endowment.
what the actual account is, but I know there's only I think 3 months left. I don't know what the form
It's very
is.
minimal. That's why I don't want to really quote and say that there's savings, because in essence, there really isn't any. And I had just gotten on board. Yes, sir.
Say something to the
Sure,
endowment.
sure.
And one other thing which I didn't mention, I should. The endowment we do have, I think, is $112,000. And then there are restrictions on it, obviously. We have to pay back what we draw down on it. And we recently withdrew, I think, $24,000 because the water system went bad. We have a wretched electrical system and water system there. We needed a new pump. We needed a number of things in the water supply.
Is that fund in a bank account?
Yeah, what kind of account is it? And I don't think you guys have the answer right now.
You're only
Go
talking
ahead.
about, you're only talking about maybe 3 months of operational expenses.
Oh, no, I get that, but my point is, if you're able to take some of that money and put it in the accounts that we have, which is New York class, NICLAS, you'll get a premium interest. So that's an additional way. It might not be a lot of money if you have 80 or 100,000, but every little bit helps.
It sounds like you should go on September 10th.
Right, no, but, and I really appreciate that offer. We're going to take that to the board. And I think it's, thank you very much.
And I will get you Joel's information. He's our sales rep down here.
There's one other point I want to make, which is very important from a museum standpoint, is because of the wretched conditions of the buildings, well, the collection has never been in a controlled environment. And because the buildings they're not insulated, roofs leak, the collection is deteriorating. So the longer we wait to improve the infrastructure, the collection is just deteriorating more and more. And we have a vast collection of wonderful books, old books dating back to the 19th century. We have fabrics dating back to that period, and they're deteriorating because of the
Are you
infrastructure.
available this week?
I'm sorry.
Are you available this week?
Certainly.
All right, I'd like to walk it with you and explain everything to me.
Yeah.
And I'll see
There's a
if,
whole
Let me know
presentation
your
on
availability, and I will
September
be
10th.
available. Let me know your availability, and I will be
okay.
available.
I will, give me your cell number, Bill.
I'll give you my home number. That's better.
Why don't you do that after the meeting?
Yeah, do it after the meeting. Don't put it,
Oh, well,
I just
gotta
do want to
split
reiterate
after
that the
this.
September 10th,
Operators are standing by. Go ahead.
I can't hang around too long, but I'll stop by during the week.
yeah.
And give you my number.
No, I'll do it this week.
Good,
there's a
good.
September 10th presentation for this specific,
We know.
yeah.
I understand that. I got you.
And the
that.
director will be there and available.
And he
We'll
would,
give the
he
supervisor
is,
a personal, the cook's tour.
That's
Yeah.
All these problems.
Doesn't get better than that.
Oh, it's not a waste of your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, Supervisor Cardone, but also extend the invitation to the rest of the board. If they would like to come by, be more than happy to show everybody around. And just keep in mind, it's really 1700s, no air conditioning, no electric.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
trying to keep it as basic as possible. And we would appreciate getting at least somewhere close to the 20th century instead of 21st. But that's our aim, and
Okay.
we appreciate any help. And all kidding aside, we really need your help, and we appreciate any help that you can give. And to everybody out there, if you wish to donate to the museum, do we have a, well, you'll see it online. We'll soon have a new website. We'll have our new web page, and any and every dollar helps. So thank you very much for your time.
I will stop by when we could set up something at your convenience.
Yeah.
You know, for a personalized tour, rather than when there's.
do me a favor, just write your cell number on here for me, please. Five 309.
That's
Jenny,
1-800.
Jenny.
Getting another headache from all this laughing.
Thank you, Bill. Very much, yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
I'll reach out to you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Bill.
Always good to see you, Rick.
All right. I know Highway Superintendent Pat Patterson wanted to speak about a couple of things.
I got quite a bit tonight. I'm going to ask that we deem September, Please Be Patient Month with our what's going on with our highways. We were hoping to have some of this road work done before school started, but we're at the beck and call of different vendors and the rain pushing them back and out. So I'm going to start with the closing of O&R Road. Today we had to emergency close it. It's been an ongoing problem for quite some time, and the road actually collapsed on the edge today. We are lining the pipes there. We have everything exposed, ready to go. So there's probably going to be tomorrow and one other day to put the road back together. And they'll see on and off closings there. That's number one. Number two is the county will be paving next week, weather permitting, Cedar Cliff, West Monbassia, and putting the stripes back in it. We will be starting drainage on First Street in the near future. When I asked, we have spot seal coating, fog sealing on this Thursday, which is the areas that we prepped for being paved or chip sealed, which I know nobody likes that name, but it has to happen because that's the most affordable way to get your roads to stay in shape is between crack sealing. So the roads that we will be chip sealing are Twin Lakes, Francis Lane, Cromwell Hill, Alden, Edwards, Walton Terrace Extension, Pine Tree Road, and Post Road. So those, as I said, they will be chip sealing. We're hoping this is going to be like a day and a half, and we should be done with the chip sealing. And then patience would be just give us a little bit of time for the stone to set into the oil. It's not like it used to be, but we need a little time for it to run into the oil that's on the ground. And then we'll sweep it up, and it'll look like Lakes Road, where the village just did a fabulous job sweeping it. It looks like if it was black, it'd be black. It's very good, and it's the most affordable way. We will also be doing a process called micropave on multiple roads. Ludlam, Mine, from Cedar Cliff to the bus garage, Birch Drive, Heaton Road, Forest Ave, which is basically Scunnamunk, and Scunnamunk. We're going to be doing a process called, as I said, micropave. Together. We can't do chip sealing on those roads anymore because that's to stop the oil from bleeding the way it's bleeding through, making these roads unsafe. We had conditions over on Scunnamunk that cars in the rain were actually sliding around a turn in the rain, and we can't have that. So we just put Ludlam in the mix because I noticed that road is really bad. It looks wet when it's dry, and that's all oil that's going to the top of it. So that's where we're starting out. We will be line striping after all of that is done on a lot of different roads. And again, we hope everybody's patient and with a little bit of inconvenience because some of these processes have to dry. When we do the ones like Ludlam, Mine, Birch, Heaton, there might be somebody knocking on your door to explain to you exactly what's going on and to please hold up a little bit until it dries to get out of your driveway, but we guarantee you it's going to be a good finish when it's done.
All right, thank you.
A couple
Could I just-
questions. Do you want to start?
I want to change the topic to the
Oh.
meters. Could you just
I had a
announce that
question.
the meters are being changed and appointments are being made?
Yes, yes. So right now, we are installing new cellular read water meters. How that benefits you as well as us is the homeowner will be able to gain access to their own water meters. They will be able to go on and monitor after we put them in, about 30 days later, go in and see what their usage is. And it'll tell you if you have a toilet leaking, basically, because it'll tell you have usage when you're not using it. It'll tell you the amount of gallons. It'll be better for us because we won't have to go drive around to read meters. It's all done in-house. And the only reason why we have to do this is because Badger Meter does not support the software anymore that they had when we put those in 10 years ago. So everything is switched over to a cellular read. The cellular read is like a text message. It is, I have documentation, it is no more harming than your cell phone, than your microwave, than your TV. It sends out a text message just like your phone does. So it's safe. And as I said, I have documentation from Badger Meter saying that. So, but we will be calling on the people that we haven't done yet, and little by little, we're going to get them all changed over. So John is working very hard on doing that, and Mary, you just had yours put in. So,
It was a very easy process. It
right,
didn't take more than 10 minutes, I'd say 10, 15 minutes.
right, and we don't shut your water off to do it. We don't have to, and we'll go from there.
I just had a couple questions about the chip sealing, just because I know some people, they're not patient. No one's patient in Monroe. We're too close to New York City for anybody to be patient. So anyway, I get a lot of questions about recycled asphalt, and I guess this is what they're referring to.
No.
Is it used alongside chip sealing, or is it two separate processes that can
It's
be?
two separate processes. We take all of our asphalt that we dig up, all our extra blacktop, and we take it out to, and we sell it back to TETS. I believe 40% of the asphalt that we buy from TETS is recycled, which is milled old blacktop is what it is. It doesn't hold together as good as regular blacktop, like it used to, And that's one of the reasons why we see a lot of deterioration in roads, because I don't think that they've actually done a good job on getting it to stick enough.
Okay, so we're sort of using a different, more verified, approved, highway department approved method than,
So chip sealing is just, it's oil
okay.
and quarter-inch stone is what it is. So, but the oil locks in all the cracks. If they were big cracks, we went around, we crack sealed most of our roads, the ones we could do. And then the oil takes over the rest. It fills them in, and the stone goes on top, and it runs into the road.
So you're just going around repairing cracks right now by doing the chip sealing? You're not doing a whole blacktop
No, the chip
redo
sealing
like
is
in the village, how you
the
mentioned?
chip sealing is an overlay.
Okay.
Is what it is. As is the micropave is also an overlay that has fine sand in it.
And then the residents who may be trapped, are they going to get a door knock a day or two before? Or are they going to get notices sent in the mail? I'll probably get calls about this. So.
We've been putting everything on constant contact.
Okay.
We've been trying to get it out to the people. When we do something, we try and knock doors or we try and put flyers in. So they'll be notified the best we can. But this company that I'm using called Suitco out of Sullivan County, it's the first time using them, they are going to knock doors during the process, and they will help people in and out of their driveways, and it's going to be a few minutes, but
Sounds good. Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Okay. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
Supervisor,
Wait.
did you have any other community announcements?
No, I did not.
I just have two things that I noticed weren't on the agenda. One is the Lakeside Fire and Rescue Garage Sale that's going to be in the upper parking lot this weekend, Saturday from 10 to 4. It will be weather permitting. The rain date is for Sunday, September 8th. They also will be
Wait, you said Saturday, what date?
September 7th.
Okay.
Sorry.
Verklempt.
With a rain date of September 8th. They will have hot dogs and burgers for purchase. There'll be a porta potty. Again, that's from 10 to 4. Saturday, September 7th, rain date September 8th. We will have information posted on the website if that date gets changed. And the other one was the Monroe Cheese Festival, which is scheduled for September 14th in the village of Monroe. Is that from 11 to 7, Sal?
11 to 7.
11 to 7.
You just made me remember, there's also the September 11th Memorial, which will be at the 9/11 Memorial in the village along the 17M and the Mill Pond Park. And that,
What time is that?
I think that starts at 6 o'clock.
6.
Okay, thank you. And also, Brian Nugent couldn't be here tonight, so we're replaced with the wonderful Dylan over there. Thank you. Okay, public hearing. Is anybody here from 21 Front Street? Okay, so we're essentially going to hold this over. I'll make a motion to open up the continuation of a public hearing regarding the short-term rental application for 21 Front Street, SBL 16-3-1. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Who will second? Call the question?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
No
Okay.
public comment.
No public comment. So we're waiting for some information back from the owner of this. It's in regard to the property next door where they're supposed to be acquiring, so that there's no non-conforming uses there. So I'm going to make a motion to keep this open for the continuation of the public hearing for the short-term rental application of 21 Front Street, SBL 16-3-1, to December 2nd at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Okay. You have the acceptance of minutes, acceptance of July 15th, 2024. I'll make a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Sure.
No. After the Resolution 2024-407, there were some comments made that
social media was incorrect. So I think that section of the minutes should be deleted because we are not the social media police. We have no policy regarding making any notices about that. And then there was also constant contact that also seemed to have made a mistake. So just to keep things simplified, I think that entire section about the social media and the Morangi should be deleted. That's my comment.
Which part was this, 2024 dash what?
It's right after 2024-407.
This was brought up at the prior meeting as well. This was the section about the announcement, sort of rebuking Trustee Carl and myself, or at least it appeared that way, are going on and speaking about the discount and providing residents with the opportunity to whether it call Jackie and email as the situation morphed and we conversed with Jackie from Morangi. I just, out of uniformity, fairness, typical procedure for the minutes, every other agenda subsection, I guess you could call it, refers the constituent or the reader of the minutes to view the video, and it doesn't have any other byline. It just states what was discussed, and the person can, refer to that timestamp in the actual YouTube video. This is why this was delayed in the first place. I'll make the same argument again. I was advised by Nugent, he's not here right now, to reaffirm or sort of give more context to our conversation. It was in reference to another subject, but I have the right to represent myself as a council person. So if I take to social media I could take to social media as a constituent, because I have the right to advise other constituents, of facts I've learned about my municipality. It's an open facility and open government, and I'm allowed to do that. And then B, I'm allowed to represent myself from an official position. And those notices that were sent out, there was no attempt to speak to me. There was no attempt to speak to Trustee Carl. And I had done my due diligence by speaking directly with Morangi and getting the correct facts. So I just think it's an inappropriate dynamic to continue.
So, Councilwoman Houle, if you look at the minutes, it's discussion, information,
I see it.
9.5, senior citizen.
I see
Okay.
it, thank you.
So, Councilwoman Richardson, when you refer to me indicating for the residents to reference a certain part of the video, yes, that's throughout the minutes for public hearings, but what you're saying where there's nothing else other than those bullet points, those are community announcements. This was an agenda item, not a community announcement, and that's why I put what was in public content on.
I know why you did it. I'm just saying that there are I don't have it in front of me. I don't know the correct term for if it's an agenda item, but the other agenda items do not have.
Those are community announcements if you
Right,
look
but
at
there
them.
are other agenda items that you have not transcribed and not verbatim referenced.
Verbatim is only public hearings.
No, the verbatim, you quoted the statement verbatim is what I'm saying. You took a community statement that was put out without consulting anybody who was on, we didn't have a discussion between municipalities. There was an issue with the garbage contract in the first place and an issue with communication in the first place. And I guess I and Councilman Bingham, and I know probably Trustee Carl would like to discontinue, this wave of communication errors. So just to have that in the minutes when you could review the footage or not, it was a judgment made by the minutes rather that doesn't exist in the context of the meeting. And I respect all that you do as clerk and that you transcribe these meetings and that I'm sort of standing on principle here, but that's how we feel, and it doesn't seem appropriate to, continue rebuking council people in their course of representing a constituency. Just because, I'm on a board that can make and issue statements doesn't mean that I personally believe that. And when they're literally facts that you can review, if 3 people say it's a fact, but it would just be the moral stance of the town not to continue this dynamic of violating a council person's right to interface with the constituency and provide those resources.
So, again, that item was in public content, and that's why I chose to put it there, okay? They're my minutes. I leave it to the board to either accept them or not.
We're asking that be amended. That's the motion at hand. That's what we motioned previously. Councilwoman Bingham, is that your motion now?
I'll make a motion officially.
Well,
We have a motion on the table.
We have a motion first that we have to vote on.
Right.
Well, I guess you could make a motion within
I
a
do
motion
have-
to amend the motion at hand that is allowed, that we accept them upon amending that section.
Well, then we'd have to amend the motion. We'd have to amend the motion. Val, I have one question for you. If we did not approve these minutes, what would happen?
They basically stay out there in Never land, and they stay in draft form.
There's nothing
I'm-
else
They
wrong
appear
with the
Listen,
minutes.
I'm going to tell you that, okay, so Councilwoman Richardson says that she did her due diligence. Well, she obviously spoke to the wrong employee.
I spoke directly with Jackie.
That's why I made
No.
the comment that that post was incorrect.
We didn't speak with the wrong employee, and then we spoke with Jackie when she was here, and the video itself provides her account that we spoke. So I would just like it to direct, or a neutral statement that there is a senior discount. It does not have to be pointed, and there's nothing wrong with the minutes. We'd like to approve the minutes, except for that section.
I'm going to call the question on what currently exists.
So
and
I'm going to make the
if it
motion
doesn't-
within a motion, which
if it-
has to be addressed first.
If it doesn't pass, you could then make your motion. Call the question.
Well,
Get
I've made
attorney's
the
opinion.
motion
Can we make a motion within a
within the
motion?
motion. Yes, to amend the original motion. I can do that. We discussed this with Nugent
Go
last
ahead,
time.
make that motion.
Okay, let's see if I can word this properly. I would like to make a motion within the motion to amend the original motion that we accept the minutes for July under the condition that we remove, what section is it, Mary?
It's 9.5, senior citizen garbage district discount.
That we remove the comments under the aforementioned subsection.
But leave to hear discussion between,
Yes.
but to leave the sentence to hear discussion between Jacqueline Gentili and Mike Gentili of Morangi and the town board members. Please go to line 2 board docs video clip number 9.50:39:51.
Question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, nay.
Oh, no.
Well, no.
Richardson, yay.
Okay, so we're back to the original motion for approval of the minutes. I'll call the question. Councilwoman Bingham.
Bingham, nay.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Well, aye.
Richardson, nay.
So moved. Thank you. Next up is the acceptance of August 12th, 2024 minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone abstain. I was absent.
Well, aye.
Richardson, aye. I have a question regarding, I know that something can be entered into the record. Clerk Betzer, what is the policy for that? Because I know I can make a motion to enter my own statement into the record regarding those minutes. So would that go into those
What are you
minutes?
looking, you're talking about August 12th?
For July, like I can make a motion that I actually enter statements into the record. Does that have to be before they're passed? Like, do we know?
I believe that has to be before they're passed.
Well, I haven't asked you. I've asked.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that in the minutes of September 3rd, that there was discussion regarding the July 15th, 2024 minutes, section 9.5, and to go see video clip as determined by the town clerk.
I gotta be honest with you. You both are being very disrespectful to our town clerk.
I don't think we are being disrespectful.
Can I tell you? The challenges, and I can handle a challenge, but the challenge just to get these minutes approved, this last meeting, and obviously now this one.
We approved this one immediately.
Right, but, okay, so now you're going back to that simple
Yes.
agenda item.
We
Okay,
asked you to
one
simply
simple-
remove it before the meeting ever started. We
Okay,
said
and
we
I-
had
and I
problem with the
stated-
language. We expressed that the position of the majority was inappropriate. It's just our right to do so. I understand that you work hard, and so do we. We would love to not have to ask your office for documents that the supervisor is supposed to provide to us directly and put extra strain on that office and have this
not
upsetting
true.
dynamic, but this is how it is. It is documented, well documented, that we do not have access and have to get access to basic information through the clerk's office, which he's also tried to block. So I was literally told that I don't have access to records from my official position by the attorney. So I would love for everybody
Not
here
true.
to honor, that is in writing. That's in writing. So I would love for everybody to honor that the clerk works hard on the minutes, and they're the town of Monroe's minutes. They're not the clerk's minutes. They are the clerk's impressions and the interpretations.
They
of
are the
what's
clerk's
brought-
minutes.
They are
The
not.
note-
They are the
notes
They are
clerk's
my
not
minutes.
the clerk's
They
minutes. They are the
the
minutes.
clerk's minutes.
They are the
Okay.
minutes for the public
Can we get on with the
meeting.
meeting?
yeah,
We have
I'd
people
like-
out here that
I'd
want to
like
go
to
home.
move
They're
on.
supposed to be factually accurate, and we elect a clerk who we trust and have that faith in to do so. And that is all. We expressed with utmost respect that we differed in fact, and we did so before the meeting. So we're not trying to disrespect you, and we would like our statements to be honored, and we do know that we as the minority have the ability
your
to issue
statements-
a report and to issue statements into the record. So we're just trying to understand how
So your
that would look.
statements are entered into the record based on the video. So I'd like to move forward. Item 6.1 is the general fund abstract. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Monroe, we request approval for abstract 24-11, general fund containing checks 35619-35683, totaling $409,053.62. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Okay, item 7.1 is a cash transfer.
Actually, you didn't allow me to vote. Richardson, aye.
Item 7.1, cash transfer abstract. Be it resolved that the town board of town of Monroe made a motion to approve abstract 2024-7 in the amount of $1,302,000 to move cash back to funds from New York Class Investments to cover future expenditures for 2024. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Item 7.2, cash transfer abstract. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Monroe made a motion to approve abstract number 2024-08 in the amount of $20,000 for the town to loan sewer district number 5, which is the Highview Drainage District, to cover 2024 expenses to be repaid with January 2025 tax warrant.
Second for discussion. Shouldn't
ahead.
that be a drainage district?
It is a drainage district, but,
Right, it said, you said sewer, and that's why
I'm
I
sorry,
was just...
SD number 5.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Item 7.3 is another cash abstract. Be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Monroe made a motion to approve abstract 2024-09 in the amount of $140,000 to move cash back to funds from New York Class Investments to cover the highway capital equipment expenditures in 2024. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 8.1 is the resolution, and I'll let Pat discuss it. So if somebody could second it for discussion.
Second for
second.
discussion.
Was that?
Second for discussion.
Okay. Pat, you want to explain the 95th Annual Conference?
I didn't bring my paperwork with me. As you know, I was out on Orange
Yeah.
and Rockland Road. But it's our fall conference, which is up in Ellicottville, New York. That's pretty far away. And there's a lot of classes we're taking up there, and the networking that we do up in Ellicottville, just like any other conference I go to.
So the motion is a resolution authorizing Highway Superintendent James Patterson to attend the 2024 New York State Association of Town Superintendents of Highways 95th Annual Conference, Education Symposium and Expo at Holiday Valley Resort in Ellicott, New York, from September 24th through September 27th, 2024. The registration fee is $650. It includes a highway superintendent package, 3-day full conference, Tuesday through Friday, registration fees, all meals, breaks, education sessions, and special activities. And hotel accommodations will be $477, which is $159 night discounted rate by the New York State Highway Association of Highway Superintendents. So the total cost would be less than $1,200. So I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next up,
Supervisor, before you carry on with your meeting, just so the board knows that Saturday I am leaving for another conference, which is the American Public Works Association Conference at no charge to the taxpayer. That's because I am the president of the Southeast New York branch of the American Public Works Association, which is a national association with, there's so much learning and vendors and new ideas that we're going to be learning there. As I said, it's,
turn Wednesday, right?
I fly back in on Wednesday, yes, correct. As I said, it's zero cost to the taxpayers.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, item 8.2 is the donation of vacant land. We need a resolution to accept the land located on West Monbassia Road, Section 38, Block 3, Lot 1. I will have Councilwoman Houle read the resolution.
Whereas Wayne Wetterman and Barbara Wetterman, lawful owners of a vacant property lot located on West Monbassia Road, Section 38, Block 3, Lot 1, known as the property in the town of Monroe, County of Orange, State of New York, wishes to donate said property to the town of Monroe, and whereas the governing town board desires to accept said donation of land and to authorize the supervisor to execute all document required for the transfer of said property, and whereas the state of New York, pursuant to Section 64(8) of the New York Town Law, authorizes the town to make by gift, grant, bequest, or devising of real property for a lawful and public purpose. Now therefore be it resolved that Section 1, all whereas clauses are hereby incorporated by reference as though set forth in full herein. Section 2, the town board is hereby authorized to accept the donation of the aforementioned property for any proper town purpose. Section 3, the town board hereby authorizes Town Special Counsel Fierick Nugent McCartney, PLLC, to take all actions necessary to facilitate the transfer of the property to the town of Monroe and prepare the necessary documents for execution by the supervisor and the property owners. Section 4, the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign all required documents for the transfer of the property to the town, to file the documents with the Orange County Clerk's Office, and to pay the costs for title insurance and related fees. Section 5, the town supervisor and any other officer or employee as directed by the town supervisor is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions of this resolution. Section 6, this resolution shall be effective immediately. I put that in the form of a motion.
Second for discussion.
Yep.
Section 38, Block 3, Lot 1, is that really on West Monbassia, or is that on Alley Road?
It's,
It's, because I was a little confused looking at the tax parcel maps.
yeah, I mean, I'll bring it up and I'll verify it.
I tried bringing it up earlier today, and I think the county site was,
County side was down.
yeah. Well, not the whole site, just the image main.
GIS.
That's what I'm trying.
Is it Orange County GIS? Talking about the type.
I went on parcel information when I tried to look it up.
Address on here is coming up as West Monbassia Road on ITAX.
Yeah, but as I said, when I went on the county website, parcel imagery, whatever it's called,
What's this?
it looks like it's on Alley Road.
3831.
That's why I just want to make sure we have the right address and clarification. I know we have the section, lot, and block number, which should be sufficient, but just to clarify.
Yeah, it just says West Monbassia Road, Barbara Wiederman and Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
No, as I said, I looked at it at home. I'm sure when Mr. Nugent's office or Dylan looks at it, they can address it from a legal standpoint if needed.
I don't have it in front of me.
what was the other road that you were?
Alley, A-L-L-E-Y.
And it's, sorry, repeat the 38 dash.
31. Yeah, I see what you mean here. That's the parcel right there. And then West Monbassia is here. So it actually doesn't share a border with West Monbassia. It's not even a flag lot.
Why would the address on the property data be listed as West Monbassia Road then?
Well, I don't think
Could have been
Ally,
subdivided off of this one. You don't know.
There's no number either under address. It just says West Monbassia Road. Doesn't even say 27.
Right.
Ally doesn't even have like a road type. So it's not Alley, Avenue, Road, Drive, Lane, whatever. It's just Alley. So it's possible that this is just,
Do we even
An
include
access.
the road name, and can we just
as long as we
identify
have
it
the
by
section,
tax
block, and
parcel?
lot.
Yeah.
We have the SBL, and then
Yeah.
I'll defer to council for, the right form with respect to it.
Right, I just don't want to hold up the deed. We're still waiting for some other deeds for some other properties.
But the county does have it identified as far as the address goes as West Monbassia Road.
Can you just wait?
Okay, but
The
if,
slot block lot?
And you
Quickly.
can always amend it later.
yeah,
What's that?
You can, and you can amend it later.
So, call the question on that then?
all right, Bingham, aye.
Stancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Sorry, just a quick question. Do you mean amend like we'd have to all come to the board meeting and vote again? Or as in if we approve this, you could do an edit? Like what did you mean by you can amend it?
Make a motion to amend the resolution.
So we'd have to vote
It
on
would
it.
be at the next
We'd
meeting.
have to just
we'd
vote.
have to
So,
vote,
yeah, okay.
You'd
So
bring it back.
aye, and we'll just see.
Okay, item 8.3, Bald Hill. There's going to be some discussion regarding the naming of the roads. I know Highway Superintendent Patterson has not a problem with the names, but some concerns about the locations and the fact that there's private road that runs into a public road.
Correct. The problem I have is like we ran into on Walton Terrace. When we took over Walton Terrace, it was Walton Terrace Extension is what it was. And we just called it Walton Terrace, the same. That we're going to run into the same problem here because it's Winery Woods Road, public, turning into Winery Woods Road on a private. There's no like distinct line. I'd like to see them change that, is what I'd like to do. Another thing I see, and I know this map is pretty final, from what I'm seeing, is there's no place for us to turn our trucks around here. The cul-de-sac that they put in is part of the private section, so we would have to push the snow and stop in the middle of the road and leave that big pile in the middle of the road, which isn't good for us. And there's no room for, well, I guess the fire can go on a private road or ambulance can go onto the private road, but we can't let our plows stay down and salt their private road. So that lot line there would have to be changed from what I'm looking at now.
All right, so I'll have, Dylan, if you want to have Mr. Nugent reach out to the attorney for Bald Hill and try to get that rectified, and if there's any questions, you call Pat Patterson to get the details regarding his concerns.
And make sure you're
I have a
specific, because
question.
when I heard about this in the community, it was that we had a problem with like naming it after wineries and wines, and I was like, that's so cute, why would we
Yeah.
ever?
No, we don't have a problem with that at all. It's just that the continuation on, who knows how many years it's going to be before we change over, and people are going to get confused whether that's private or public. Another problem that I have, well, a question I have is, are we going to have a drainage district here? That's another, because eventually this is going to need repair with the drainage on there, so maybe that can also be asked to the,
Okay.
Can we make a motion that you give a formal response with review by the attorney, like that you draft your suggestions, just for maximum clarity?
Absolutely.
Or do we not need to really make that motion,
no,
We'll compel you, I'll make the motion, you're obligated now.
Yeah.
That you make,
You wouldn't need to, no. We're
that?
already working on it.
he can just do it, we don't need to
I'm
make a
sorry.
motion.
Yeah, correct, you wouldn't need to, it's already
Yeah.
working on it, so just part
I
of the
have a
process.
question. Didn't the planning board review the roads as to how they were connecting, like you said, with private and public?
If we remember, this project was what, 2005?
Well, yes,
So-
over 20 years, yes,
And somebody,
Stipulation,
Yes.
the stipulation was from 2010.
yeah.
right,
So-
and the project started earlier than that, so that might have been an agreement. It never came before me, so otherwise I would have brought this up before it got this far.
So it sounds like a simple, just
Yeah, it
your
probably
review
is.
and,
Change that to Winery
Yeah.
Road instead of Winery Woods Road.
yeah,
And then as soon as we hit the private, make it Winery Woods Road.
include a map.
could you do
with
like
the
the east and
suggested
west?
lot lines, that would make it easier.
Right.
And explain about your trucks and
Right.
like,
Yep.
because are they going to be clearing, because it's a private road and a private development, they're going to be clearing their own snow?
Yes.
And do you need to coordinate, is that also a consideration with that?
No, that turns into not our problem.
Right.
We just make sure that our
Where they're
section-
dumping the snow, though, it's maybe
Right,
a problem in the future, but,
yeah, and hopefully they have the room to do that.
well, maybe you might want to, that's what I'm saying, right? Write as much as you
Yeah,
can.
And I'll work with
Yeah.
whoever the builder is there or whatever, and
You know,
or whoever's,
it's like if you don't ask, you won't get. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next up, item 8.4, the Newcastle Communications Annual Service Contract Renewal. Councilwoman Houle?
Yep, so we have here the renewal for the Newcastle Communications contract. This is for $4,253.52. That is going to span the time period of December 14th, 2024 through December 13th, 2025.
And cost?
The cost is $4,253.52 for the year. So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign this contract with Newcastle Communications.
I'll
Second
second.
for discussion. Sorry. So the last time we had a contract with them was for the 2023, and that cost was $3,981.36. So they're roughly increasing their rates by 6.9%, but we have a 2% cap.
Did we change our service? To increase our service.
Mary, remember, we have a 2% cap by the state.
Yes.
Doesn't mean everybody else has to abide by it.
But, true, but I thought they were on some OGS contract list? OGS contract.
They are.
Yeah, so I thought they'd be a little bit more responsive, seeing what they know the municipalities have to deal with. That's my point.
Well, I think part of it is also that they also have to deal with costs coming from the state. So they have to balance that somehow. So while we have a 2% cap where we can't raise our taxes on the residents more than 2% for the tax year, they're not bound by that 2% cap.
I think she's just making the point that we have to be mindful
right.
of, just to
I get it.
reiterate,
I get it.
mindful of costs. But so to that end, did we add or amend, increase in any way our service, or is this identical?
Nope,
I
this
think
is
it's
the same.
identical.
It's identical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. If you approve it tonight, I'll go back to Newcastle and say, hey, listen, you're looking at almost a 7% increase. I'll see if we can get a reduction.
That sounds fair.
Call the question.
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next up is item 8.5, which is not listed as 8.5. I just realized, Madam Clerk.
On ours it is.
Not on the paperwork, I'm saying. But anyway, okay. All right. It's a resolution approving the use of the Town Hall Meeting Room by Dingman's Dairy from March 7th through 9th, 2025, at a rate of $850 per day. Certificate of insurance has been provided. It's the same wholesale ice cream show that we had here. So that's basically what we're looking to do here. Second. Discussion.
That was a good show.
It was so good. They
Delicious.
give out free ice cream. The public should absolutely put this in their calendar. This is from March 7th.
But I don't think it's open to the
yeah.
to
public.
March 9th.
It's
Really?
not,
Yeah,
it's not open to the public.
public.
The doors, well, I walked in, I'm sorry. I misused my position for free ice cream, I guess. I came in, I invited people down last time. It seemed like it was open to the public. But they appreciated it. They liked us putting out their products, everything that people came down, so.
Okay, call the question.
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Okay, item 9.1 is the Pilati Village pilot. Everybody had a chance to read it. I will make a motion to approve it in a form applicable, approved by our town council. We've had discussion on this. We've had discussion in an executive session on this, so I'll make that motion.
Pool will second.
Discussion. What is that? Do we need to reform the motion that for review by council, or what does that mean for in a form acceptable?
No, essentially, the board would approve it, and then we would continue to work with Pilati or with the board to get
Finalize it.
correct.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Ready?
Call it. What's that?
I just said it sounds good, and are you ready to recall the
ready.
question?
Okay, call the question.
Am I?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, item 9.2 and 9.3 are the same. They're basically Monroe Commons. I don't want to act on this tonight because everybody was just sent the finding statement for the SECRA from the planning board. So everybody, it's either in your email or you printed it out. So I'd like to hold this off till the 16th to make sure we all have time to review that. So I'll make a motion to table it.
I'd like to make a different motion.
All right, well, nobody seconds my motion. Go ahead.
Well, what is
Okay.
I'll second.
My motion is to table it until
your motion?
September.
Let's hear both. Let's shop
Well,
around.
we have
My-
one.
All right, if you let me speak, maybe then you can understand it. My motion is to table any approvals of this since we have just received the finding statements to September 16th.
And we heard that motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, nay.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
I would have preferred to call discussion. I should have called discussion when you
Well, you
seconded
didn't,
it.
so please vote.
Well, abstain.
Okay. All right, so moved. Mary, what did you want to discuss now?
Well, I was hoping we could, it seems that the board was pretty much in agreement that the changes were realistic to authorize Nugent's office to start working on the resolution for the 16th meeting, if
Well-
that's acceptable.
Well, that's actually what we're doing here, because Brian and I had that conversation today, that he's got to work on it. It's funny you say that. That's why we're tabling it, so that
Right,
we'll have time.
but
So-
I just wanted to make the motion that we authorize Nugent's office to start working on the resolution, so.
That's
we-
fine.
Okay.
I'll second it. Call the question?
Okay.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next up, item 9.4, to those two patient guys in the back right-hand corner of the room.
He's falling asleep.
Project 230160, 18 Stairway, SBL 3125, and I'm so glad that Mr. Gordon did not have to deal with a fire call this evening.
So is he.
So you're looking to have this tabled 3 months out, right? I was hoping not. Oh, okay.
Hi, good evening again. Dave Higgins from Lankin Tully Engineering and Surveying. And good evening.
All right.
Would you like me to give a brief recap on where we are?
Brief recap is fine.
Okay, so again, this is for the property located at 18 Stairway. I represent Nick Gordon, Alice Serpy, the owner of the property. This is the property where the Master Class Shooters business is. There is a garage that was constructed with a building permit on the property. I think it was 2016. And the property, that building had been used for the storage of some landscape equipment. And I know that the building department had indicated there was a violation on that because it wasn't approved for that use. And the building inspector had instructed the owner, the applicant, to have a site plan prepared so that it could be covered under a properly approved site plan. So we were retained by Nick Gordon to prepare that. We did prepare it, and in doing so, recognized that the landscape or contractor storage yard was not a permitted use in the GB district. So we have two options to proceed with the site plan, and one is to request a change in the zoning district for the GB district to allow the use of a contractor or landscape storage yard as a permitted use or a permitted use subject to site plan or special use permit, or we can apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a use variance. At this time, we've made a petition to the town board to change the GB zoning district to allow contractor or landscape storage yard in the GB district. And again, as I pointed out in the documentation that was provided, that use is permitted as a special use in the light industry and heavy industry districts, which are adjacent to the GB in that area of the town.
Okay. So, I have a resolution before me that council prepared approving the zone amendment and adoption of local law to amend Chapter 57 to allow a building and landscape storage use in the GB zone subject to a special permit. Okay, so I'm going to read the entire whereas and then the sections because I'd like to make this motion. Whereas a petition for a zoning amendment dated February 6, 2024 was received by the town from applicants Alice Serpy and Nick Gordon seeking to amend permissible uses in the general business zoning district, GB district. And whereas the town board determined that the action is a type 1 action for SECRA purposes and declared lead agency. And whereas the town board published notice of a public hearing regarding the proposed zoning amendment and local law enacting such proposed amendments. And whereas a public hearing was opened on June 3rd, 2024, and continued on June 17th, 2024, and July 15th, 2024, and during such public hearings, all interested persons were afforded an opportunity to be heard with respect to the proposed zoning amendment and local draft law. And whereas the in-person public hearing was closed July 15, 2024, and remained open through July 25, 2024 for written comment only, upon which date the public hearing was closed, and whereas the proposed zoning amendment and local law was reviewed by the town planner, who recommended its adoption as presented in the local law draft and requiring a special permit for use, and whereas the proposed zoning amendment was referred to the Orange County Department of Planning for review under General Municipal Law, Section 239-M, and whereas the Orange County Planning Department responded via letter dated June 14, 2024, providing advisory comments and indicating that the zoning amendment was a matter for local determination, and whereas the town board has reviewed the full environmental assessment form, parts 1, 2, and 3, and whereas the town board desires to approve the zoning amendment, now therefore be it resolved that Section 1, the above whereas clauses are incorporated herein by reference as if set forth in full. Section 2, the town board hereby determines that there is no adverse environmental impact resulting from the adoption of the proposed zoning map amendments, and hereby adopts the negative declaration as presented in the FEAF Part 3. And Section 3, the town board hereby adopts the proposed zoning amendments to the GB district as local law number 6 of 2024 in the form of a local law presented to the town board. Section 4, the town supervisor and any officer, employee, or consultant as directed by the town supervisor shall take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of this resolution, including modification of any agency or entity of the amendments to the town zoning map. Section 5, this resolution shall be effective immediately. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Discussion. I thought we discussed, and I have a letter in front of me, and I'm just wondering if there were jumps in different iterations that I am missing, but I thought this was the project that was recommended a special use permit. So I'm sorry, I just heard there's so many attachments that I'm going to the wrong resolutions, I think. Are we?
Subject to a special use permit, that's the title
Okay,
of
so
it.
we're not actually changing the zoning, we are
No.
allowing that, okay, exactly what we had discussed. Okay, I just wanted to, just hearing zone amendment, but we have to amend the special permit into the zone, basically. The special permit is the amendment.
They'll get the special permit, and then they'll be compliant with the code because of the special permit.
Okay, yes, so just the language issue, I just wanted to, because I know you did come originally and wanted to clarify that, you know,
I think
Fill in,
with a zone change.
I'm sorry, one question. Should I have read the local law first, or we pass this first and then the local law? It doesn't matter?
Local law and then the resolution.
Local law, then a
Yes.
resolution.
So just,
All right, so I want to read that again.
Just table that, right?
I
Could we
know
make
what
it-
to do, Mrs.
No, I'm asking.
I know what to do,
Can we just table
Councilwoman
it?
Richardson.
Well,
Let-
I would
let
like
me-
to
let me
second
just run the meeting.
your motion, or make the motion to
So-
table it till after you read the resolution for the local law change. So-
Anything else you want to add?
Well, I made the motion. I'd like to table it until after you read the resolution for the local law change. Do I have a second?
Second,
Well, second.
question?
Hingham, aye?
Scangarello, nay.
Please.
Yeah.
Oh,
But thanks for showing us how you always vote.
Cardone, nay. I mean, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, nay. No, just kidding.
Okay, so I'm going to read the Town of Monroe Local Law Number 6 of year 24. Actually, Dory, would you mind reading this? Because I have dry mouth here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Local law amending Chapter 57 zoning to authorize building and landscape material storage in the GB district. be it enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Monroe by authority of Article 2, Section 10 of the Municipal Home Rule Law as follows. Do I need to read all of this? Or can I just read?
Dylan.
I think you can just read the highlights.
Dylan's
Okay.
going to tell you, I
Yeah,
think.
correct. You don't need to read the entire thing.
All right,
Not
so,
out.
so we are going to Section 2, modifying the GB schedule of district regulations. We are adding in Section 12, building or landscape materials storage yard as Section 57-13V. Under Section 3, modifying the HI schedule of district regulations, we are adding in Part 6, building or landscape materials storage yard in Section 57-13V. Section 4, establishing special use permit standards for building or landscape materials storage yard. Chapter 57, zoning Article 4, special uses. Section 57-13, individual standards for certain uses, is hereby amended to add the following subsection. Section 5, building or landscape material storage yard, Part 1, the provisions of Section 57-51 shall be complied with, and the storage yard shall be considered a wholesale business for the purpose of interpreting the provisions of Section 57-51S. The Planning Board shall ensure that appropriate vegetation exists, supplemental screening is provided, or such other measures are employed to obscure views of stored materials and equipment from any public right-of-way or residential district. Part 3, all heavy equipment and vehicles over 1 ton to be stored outside shall be stored on a concrete pad or other impervious surface designed to capture automotive chemicals and hydraulic fluids and keep such fluids from leaching into underlying soils. Part 4, any compost, manure, mulch, or other organic materials or chemicals shall not be stored within 100 feet of a property line, and the Planning Board shall ensure that any such materials are stored in a manner and subject to operating protocols designed to minimize odors, reduce fire danger, and prevent leaching of nitrogen into underlying soils. Part 5, heavy equipment over 1 ton shall only be operated, including loading and unloading of equipment onto trailers, on site between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. prevailing time weekdays, and between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. prevailing time Saturdays and Sundays. Further, where within 1,500 feet of a school, library, park, daycare, group home for disabled persons, nursing home, or retirement community, the Planning Board shall impose further restrictions to ensure that such facilities are not unreasonably impacted by noise. Section 5, severability. Section 6, seeker. This action is a type 1 action under seeker, and the Town Board has determined that this action will not result in any adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared, and a negative declaration was issued. Section 19, effective date. This law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. I make the motion that we adopt local law number 6 of the year 2024.
I'll second it.
Call-
Okay.
Any
Call the-
discussion?
Discussion?
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, my apologies for flip-flopping them when I was reading. So we're back to the
Aforementioned.
resolution approving the zone amendment and adoption of local law to amend Chapter 57 to allow a building and landscaping storage use in the GB zoning district, subject to a special permit. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Mr. Gordon, thank you very much for your patience. I appreciate you coming to us and getting this straightened out. And thank you for, being
Likewise.
very professional.
Yep, thank you very much. Have a great night, folks.
All right, you guys too.
Have a good night.
I promise I won't call 911, Nick. Okay. Next up is the item 9.5, resolution adopting local law H-V1 of 2022 to amend Chapter 57 zoning concerning regulations governing tree preservation. So, Dennis, you had reached out to us via email where you wanted to make some changes. If you want to come up here.
Hello? Yeah. We received the latest revision to the code, I think, on the 20th of August. I was asked to comment, I think, by Brian and others. We added some additional comments. Many of them I'd already submitted in the past. They're pretty minor, but I'm awaiting response. I'm assuming Brian and others will be reviewing those comments, and we'll get the opportunity to see any other comments that are submitted, particularly by the planning board. Spoken to Bonnie, and I know she's in the process of submitting comments if she hasn't done so already.
Our entire board is still working since we only referred the law after it was unfortunately mistakenly closed to them to review. So essentially, the whole planning board met at their prior meeting, and they've taken it home as homework, and they'll be reviewing it at their next meeting.
Yeah.
We need to give them a little bit of time, but we'll make sure that those comments get to you as well to take a look at those.
Good.
So I had a conversation today with Mr. Nugent, and his feeling is that we have to reopen the public hearing. So we're going to have to notice it because of the, exorbitant amount of comments.
Not my exorbitant.
Yeah, the planning board
No.
comments
No,
will be.
well,
yeah.
no, a couple of your comments, he said there were some
There-
changes that.
Yeah.
Can I please finish?
Well, I'm just trying to provide the substantial, it
I
can't
think- I
only
think he's
be
got it.
grammatical
I think he's got it.
changes that can be made. So
He's got
there's
it.
no
so-
substantive changes that can be made, so they don't have to be large
Will you let him
comments.
finish,
They don't have to be
please?
large comments, they just
So-
have to be anything substantive.
Mary, can you
essentially.
please ask her to be quiet, because she
The
obviously
rules of the meeting.
doesn't listen to
I
us. Mary.
asked you at the Roberts Rules of Order, and you said double debate and order of discussion does not matter, so
No, I was speaking, that's why. So, based on what Brian explained to me today, we're going to notice the public hearing for September 16th,
Okay.
which is our
I
next
think that's
meeting.
appropriate. As you know, there's some significant changes in there that will affect many property owners in the town.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think it's
And listen-
highly appropriate that all will get another chance to have a look at this before it's approved.
100%. And listen, I appreciate your diligence as this process went along and then when it closed, too. So that's why we will notice it. I'll make that motion after our discussion.
For the record, I think it was 2 years, give or take, when this first came up.
This was 2022,
Yeah, that's right.
So-
yeah.
yeah.
So what's another 2 weeks?
I do have a question for council, based on Mr. Nugent's email. And also, this was a concept discussed when Mr. Cardone was not here, which is why I jumped in to explain to Dennis that his comments don't have to be large. They just have to be substantial enough to change the material issue of the law, because he did only, make like 2 changes, but I think it changed it enough. But he did say last meeting and in his email that if there were any changes, they had to be in front of us in order to reopen the public hearing. Is any substantive, materialistic, I'm just going to say materialistic change enough to renotice the hearing, and then when we receive Bonnie's comments, we can deliberate on that because it's open anyway, or do we have to wait until Bonnie's and the planning board's comments are in front of us to renotice with those suggested changes?
No, you wouldn't need to wait
Okay,
for their comments.
so this is enough to reopen it? It's, okay.
Supervisor,
Yes.
I'm just looking at the Times Herald record schedule, and it doesn't seem like that's enough time. That's a local law. If it needs,
Well, let's put it this way. You can put it in, and we don't have to approve it that night. We'll have to hold it over, and then it's enough time.
Yes,
Okay.
Because you're holding it over for another meeting. We're keeping it open.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wait until the next meeting, which is in October, to open it. We're going to open it on the 16th. We'll keep it open to October, and maybe even further, depending upon what the planning board comes back with. All right?
I think that's fair. Just
Okay, so
get it
I'm going to
right.
make, anything else, Dennis?
I got some other items which I can hold off to a public comment, or while I'm up here, I can
Well,
mention.
you're up here. Do they pertain to the tree code?
Not specifically, no.
Okay, so then let me make the motion to reopen the public hearing concerning local law H-V1 of 2022 to amend Chapter 57 zoning concerning the regulations governing tree preservation to September 16th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Go ahead, Dennis.
The Cheese Festival, which was mentioned earlier, the Conservation Commission will have a table, booth at the event. We're promoting conservation, preservation. We'll have handouts, answer questions, some games and prizes for the kids. So I think that'll be
Awesome.
good.
Did one of you gentlemen pick up the banner? No.
No, we haven't picked
The
up the banner
Mickle-
yet.
Mickle didn't pick it up?
I'm not.
What's that, Chris? All right, so
Mikhail hasn't mentioned it, so
all right,
yeah.
I'll get it for you before you leave.
You got it here?
I got it here.
So I'll pick it up.
All right, that's good.
Okay,
Good.
so that'd be good. A couple of other little items. The donation of vacant land. Maybe we should have a site visit there. Has anybody been to look at it? Is it all treed? Is it a forested area? Just curious.
It's a combination of both.
Yeah.
I went up there briefly. I didn't have, I had an approximation from where it is,
Yeah,
but
yeah. What's the intent? Is just to preserve that?
preserve, preserve.
Yeah, okay, so that was curious. Pelosi Village proposed pilot. I was just curious as to what this. Maybe I didn't hear. What's the idea of the pilot? Obviously, I'm very interested in Pelosi Village as it's very close to where I live. And when is construction going to start there? What's this pilot all about?
Payment in lieu of property tax. So the town has been brokering this agreement since the origination of the actual Pilati Village development. And he's the one who'd be able to speak on those negotiations more, as well as Mr. Nugent, who's not here. But it's essentially just an arrangement based on the, facilities that will be given to disadvantaged seniors, the
All right.
working class or working
Workforce housing.
workforce housing
housing.
that will be there, and instead of traditional property tax,
Yeah.
the what is the name of the actual?
What the pilot is that it allows the assessed value of the property with the improvements that will be made on it to increase incrementally over a certain number of years. And so that their taxes that they're going to pay is going to increase rather than going from what they're paying now to what the full tax rate will be. They'll be able to ease into those payments.
Okay. So
The actual organization who
yeah,
owns the
okay,
property
so
and runs
I was
it.
just curious.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming construction is not going to start on Pelosi Village this year.
That's not to do with the pilot specifically,
No, I understand
but
that.
we can get you that.
That's a separate
Yeah,
question.
that's going to
Right,
be
yeah.
information we'll
It's
have
gonna
to
be
email
next
you
year. It's
because
gonna
we
be
don't
next
have
year, yeah.
that in front of us right now either. But I just wanted to finish my point. The actual organization that has several locations around the county that's very beneficial to senior citizens, they will just be paying the town a direct cut of the apartment rent. So that is what that is.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it. I've just got one handout to make. Chris Shaw has produced for the Cheese Festival, which will be prizes, handouts.
Pencils, what a great idea.
So we have
Oh, thank you. Monroe, Conservation. It's green.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
They look great.
Yeah. I hope it was native.
And I'm sorry, may I ask one more question, which is a personal question. This is to Pat, seeing him there. You mentioned a lot of roads that are going to be resurfaced. I happen to live on Conklin Road, which is adjacent to Sapphire Lake. That is in serious need of repair, and if it's not repaired over the winter, it's going to deteriorate very badly with snow plowing and the like.
We're trying to get up there. I mean, there's 126 miles of road in the town of Monroe.
appreciate
and
that,
it
yeah.
can't, You can't get it all in one year, but we're going to try and get up there and do some patching up there and widen that road still. It's still a goal of mine to get that widened because I know what you're going through up there.
And,
It's just-
and a reminder, because when we were up there, you had stated that he wanted to wait to complete that road until the dam issue is
I was
resolved.
just going to mention
Right.
that, because that construction will start, that won't, there again, that's not going to be till next year, the new dam, I'm assuming.
It might be longer than that. I mean,
Could we like,
yeah, I mean,
just for
they have hired,
decorum.
or we have hired colliers that will be working with the residents up there, and MHE will be kind of like a go-between
Yeah,
for them.
yeah, okay.
So-
That's it, thank you. Sorry to take up all your time, but
Dennis, you're not forgotten, and again, I appreciate the call that you made for that bridge abutment that was eroding. You
Oh,
saw
yes.
that was turned into
Absolutely,
a major
yeah.
project
that could have
up there,
been very
and
serious.
it could have been very devastating, costing millions instead of what was it? I forget the number off the top of my head, 50-some thousand, but it could have created millions of dollars worth of damage if you didn't spot that. But thank you.
That's good to know. And I truly appreciate the priority on roads elsewhere. Conklin Road is a little dead-end road. Just thought I'd mention it, especially as it's tied up with the dam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Oh, Dennis,
Don't
your
forget
banner.
your banner.
Yeah.
Now, I did not open it, so if there's a mistake and it says Dennis Fordham's Conservation Commission, you just let me know, we'll get it corrected.
Just for
All right.
separation of business and personal positions and things, just everything like that, it should probably, if it's based on a personal property, be filed under, like with the clerk during general comment, not to be Miss Minder, but we love you, Dennis, but Conklin Road isn't a Conservation Commission issue. I know, you did.
Okay, item 9.6, grant opportunities.
I want to mention about Water District 1, because I was going to ask about the WIA grant for Water District 1. Do you want to do it here, or do you want to?
Oh, we can do it here.
Okay.
We had a meeting, Highway Superintendent Pat Patterson, myself, John Mulligan, Councilwoman Bingham, with a company that has a filtration system that would be added to Water District Number 1. The cost is substantial enough that we're going to have to renotice Water District Number 1. We're going to come back with another estimate, and I'm going to say it's probably going to fall somewhere between 1.4 and 1.5 million. So that filtration system will cut out a lot of the labor moving forward. It will cut out the cost of equipment, replacing filters and whatnot. You want to expand on it, Pat?
It's hard to really expand on. I'm just going to say a few words about District Number 1. I believe that was built in the late 1950s to the early 1960s. We have homes that are built in that time, and they need renovations. They need modernization to keep us going at home. We can't afford just to put a roof on our home because of the cost of roofs now. The inside parts of this District Number 1 are way past their life expectancy. We have issues going on in District Number 1, like the closest resident gets what they call a water hammer when the pumps come on. That is going to eventually blow the pipes in his house, costing us insurance money. To the person up on Highview that isn't getting the correct water pressure to their second floor because our pumps just aren't adequate enough anymore to supply that demand. There's also the water that comes out of that plant is purchased through the village. We have to do some filtration to avoid us getting violations from the health department and EPA. That doesn't mean that the water's not safe to drink. It means that there's a parameter that you have to fall in for these different qualities of your water, but it definitely does not mean that you're not able to use the water for cooking, drinking, anything. It's potable water.
Except if you're in a specific health class, which is why they require those notices from us. Just,
Yes.
Yeah, specific sensitive groups.
So, with that being said, this filtration system will eliminate us having to change filters, which to change filters in this system is probably $30,000 to $40,000 a year, which we're not going to have to pay that. That'll be gone, and will give you better water quality. Another thing about this Water District 1 is a generator. How many times have people in District Number 1 not had water because the power went off to that pump station? There's no heat in that building. The doors are inadequate. There's a few times that we've been shut down since I've been here in late '22 that the water plant has froze up. The pipes have froze up in the building. It's just outlived its life expectancy and needs modernization in there. If we're going to put better doors on it to avoid that, so the people have a better quality of life that are in District 1, is what it comes down to being, that we don't have to fear the power went out, oh my God, I don't have water, I can't flush my toilet, or I can't draw a bath or wash dishes. You'll still be able to have that even if you have a candle to do that in your home if you don't have a generator. So I'm a firm believer that this plant definitely needs to be upgraded. We've really put our heads together, Mary, John, myself, supervisor, we've really put our heads together, and we've tried to find, and even engineering firm, the most efficient way to do this at the most economical price. So, and a car tire probably 4 years ago probably would have cost you $40. Now it costs you $200. So it's the sign of the times.
One other thing is that technology has changed.
It has.
That process that we observed wasn't in existence 2 years ago.
No.
So when the original plans were being drawn up, we couldn't even consider it because there was no technology. So there's another reason.
Exactly.
When you guys said, do you want to talk about Water District 1 under grant opportunities, were you talking about switching the topic to Water District 1 on the agenda, or are there
It
grant
kinda relates
opportunities
to it,
for
yeah.
Water District 1?
Supervisor asked about the filtration system for that, and that's how I got into explaining the whole
Yeah.
the whole plant. So from what I understand, we've tried many a times to get a WIA grant, many a times, and we've been turned down. So if we apply again, it's 6-8 months before we even hear anything on it. So 6-8 months from now puts us into next year, and the prices of everything from year to year go up. Like we were talking about with that, even the phone systems, they go up how many percent every year. So it's, if we keep on waiting, the more expensive it gets.
And did you guys just recently have an overhaul of the repairs and everything that needed to be done that drastically differ than the reports that we were just noticed on? Because I just had a couple questions on like what's being changed from when the public hearing was noticed originally, and if you have those documents.
The filtration system is one of the big things.
Okay.
Now, to put the filtration system in, you need a little bit bigger building. So
Okay.
we're going to have to expand that building or rebuild that building a little bit.
And you have like the scope
There's
of
no
work and everything with plans, or it's just verbal?
It's verbal right now. We had the meeting the other day with the company that has these.
And is there a cost
filters.
estimate from a specific is it different from MHE?
I invited MHE when we called this meeting. I invited them to come in. We
Right.
had this idea
Okay.
with it.
And they're
So-
the ones still scoping everything
Yes.
out, and so they'll give us a formal cost breakdown
I'm sure.
when we notice the public hearing again?
Yes.
So I would just like to say, okay, maybe WIA isn't a viable option, but I think we should ask Millennium if there's anything else out there, since these costs have now increased. So I'd like to make a motion that we, or the supervisor to speak
I
with
don't
Millennium.
think we need a motion. I actually left him a message today.
You did, okay. So that's the main thing, just to see if we, since the costs are now increasing, is there something else that they can find?
Just so everyone understands, you know, Mary, myself, Sean, Pat, and John Mulligan, we made the decision that since we've failed at grants, that's why we tried to move forward with this. If we're going to go back to it, I'm going to liken this to what Water District Number 12, where Councilwoman Bingham lives, had to go through. And they waited about 4 years, 5 years, even more, for a grant.
COVID hit.
And the cost, I think, Quinn, went up 5 times?
Well,
That was
compared
COVID.
to when I originally started asking for that water system, it went up like 10 times, so, yeah.
But it was COVID cost of materials escalation, right?
Yeah,
That's not
that-
typically
yes,
what
yeah.
happens. You don't expect a global
But in the
pandemic.
meantime, everything's gone up.
Yes.
So that's why I'm glad the supervisor has asked Millennium to look for any additional opportunities out there. But we do
Supervisor,
have to move forward with this.
we will also, if anybody has any questions, concerns in the Water District Number 1 or any water district, they can feel free to reach out to myself or John. Together, we'll meet with them, we'll go to their house. We'll do what we have to do to explain everything that's going on in that system. And one day it's going to, as I say, cause a major problem. So we don't want that.
I think, unfortunately, part of the issue is the tax hurdle.
I understand that, but when we buy a new car, that's what we have now too. We're paying 7% instead of.
So I'm going to tell you that at 1.5 million, at 5% interest, the cost over 30 years would be approximately $710 per each of the 74 users up there. Now, there's a possibility we could string it out to 40 years, but you also got to remember that if you only live there 10 years, you're only paying 10 years of that. You sell the house, the new owner is taking over that liability. So,
But it is an improved infrastructure that they are paying into and using.
Can't sell your house if you don't have water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Okay.
So when do you want to move the, instead of September 16th, are we going to do the public hearing?
I'd say October 7th, because I would hope we'll open it and we'll discuss it. Hopefully, the scope of work is completed by then. I don't see that being an issue.
I have a question. If we noticed Millennium to search for grants, with what documentation are they using? Like, when will they be able to search for grants, given that the cost estimate has increased? How will they be able to do so without any scope documents to pursue?
I'm sure they're searching for every water grant that they can. That's how they usually do it.
They won't be able to apply, right, until these.
Well, they could
documents-
apply, and then you could add the information as it goes forward. The
Right.
grant application deadline might not be till January, and the scope of work will be completed by then.
Right, so, but realistically, they're not going to be able to submit the required documentation, is my point, until a certain date. And when do you expect that date to be?
I don't know until I get
Okay.
the scope of work, but they could
Yeah.
submit an application without the scope of work and add it later.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, 9.7, short-term rental tax.
This was put on as a holdover from last time. The board, has been expressing interest in this as soon as it came up, some months ago. I spoke with State Senator Skoufis' office about this. He's happy to, walk the bill within reason through the standards that he's set forth for other towns in our area. He just passed this legislation for Chester. We just have to, make the request and work with his office. And Brabenec also, I think,
We also had
passed.
some discussion as to how this money could be spent and what rate. So Supervisor, you weren't here at the prior meeting, so we were thinking it could be used to buy public land, open space. It could be used for code enforcement officer or a constable, somebody that could actually enforce some of these laws, because sometimes we know we get complaints about noise and things going on. So we didn't really come to a definite consensus, but those were some of the topics we were talking about. Mr. Nugent had sent an email where Chester did pass 5%, and I also looked it up. Newburgh has 5%, Woodbury has 5%. So
That was me, not Nugent.
Well, it was in that string of emails.
To answer your question directly, before we go on about code enforcement and sort of dog earing, those string of emails did clarify that the majority of that legislation does not specifically do it in that case. More so, as your point about land preservation, that is possible to dedicate a percentage to certain funds or to the benefit of certain parklands. Yes.
Goes in the general fund.
Yes, which then at that point, it could, obviously it's amongst us to vote on the allocated budget. So the most successful and commonplace bills are the general fund, where the 5% tax goes into the general fund from a hotel motel. It's a by room basis, and it can include short-term rentals under that umbrella. It's actually a hotel motel tax. So it would not be allocated to pay the salary, like in the state legislation, to pay the salary of X title or anything like that. It would go most likely to the general, which we could then use for, whatever purposes of priority to the town for later discussion. And then I guess what we would perhaps want to deliberate on, but we could make the initial approach and discuss the parameters with his office of what he is willing to walk, or if he has recommendations, or his legislative director has recommendations.
We still need consensus of the board. Is 5% something that everybody's comfortable with? And
Yes, those
That
details.
seems to be the standard, right?
Yes.
So
well,
it
there
would make
was some
sense that
towns
we-
with 3, but they were up in Sullivan County, I believe.
Yeah, they weren't in Orange County. I
Right.
noticed that. Some of
Yeah.
them were lesser, but I would also imagine that because they are further away from New York City, that does have some
Keep in mind that
that does have some impact on whether or not people want to travel to those locations.
keep in
So-
mind that those bills could have been passed before the cap was raised from 3 to 5 as well. I think it was a state legislative change that it increased, like they weren't allowed to tax them at a certain time beyond 3%. So that could also be a possibility. But it could be just mindful government not wanting to overtax. But I think that the standard's been set in Orange County. And also these details, we need to basically make the approach in a general sense. We're looking for a hotel motel tax, which I've done. I've let Brabenek and Skoufis's office know that we want the short-term rentals to fall under that so far. And then we're just waiting on, are we
Now
interested?
we need to have Nugent's office start drafting.
I don't think we need, no, it's very, straightforward. It's gonna look pretty much like Deer Park and Chester and all the other towns.
He'd still have to draft it.
He
Still
can
have
look
to
it
draft
over.
the-
Right.
No,
Well,
I think
he'd have to draft the law.
that
to impose the
Skoufis's
tax.
office.
It's like Chester they drew up a local law, so that's what we would need Mr. Nugent's office to do as well. Draw up a local law
Right.
saying that we want 5%.
Asking for home rule
Yes.
authorization, yes.
Yes.
And the bill would have to be drafted with
Right.
Skoufis's office is what I'm trying to.
Anybody have an estimation of what type of revenue this is going to?
Well, I don't know how many hotel rooms are
Yeah, we
being
need an
proposed. We
an
need
estimate
an
of
estimate,
rooms.
so I guess maybe the planning board has some of those documents, Jeff?
I
still?
think
No?
Rip's office.
Because you have Monroe Commons, so, yeah, but that would be the only one that I could think of.
Well, would
Yeah.
this also apply to the short-term rentals?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, so then we could probably get a sense from some of our longest-running short-term rentals to see what their average yearly, what
yeah.
that impact would be, what that fiscal impact
So
would be.
basically, we could go to the assessor's office, identify hotel, motels, get their room count, get their base rate of rental for the last few years, or just this year, and just do a projected revenue on that. We need room count. And then we haven't completed the short-term rental registry yet, so, but we could estimate how many we plan to approve and then do a room breakdown based on, we have all of the exact specifications.
The building department could tell us how many they have in the works and how many they already have
Yeah.
approved. So that would be, we can get
And
some
we could,
numbers.
and we could get an idea of what the first short-term rental was,
Right.
and then reach out to them. I think that
I'm
would be a
going to
good idea.
be candid. I'm not, personally, I'm not in favor of charging the STR as a tax. I just think that without a tax and to add it now, to me, would be a little counterproductive. And I feel it wouldn't be something that we did as we were approving them. We're doing it after the fact. So as far as the short-term rental goes, me personally, I'm not in favor.
We don't
we
have a
only-
hotel, we don't have a
like
hotel
to rent
either.
We only
So-
approved
but
about
we have to plan
5.
for the future.
One at a time, Mary, go ahead.
We don't have a hotel either, but we know a hotel is in the works. We know short-term rentals are in the works. We know we have problems with, some of these ordinances being enforced. So I think we should start calculating some revenue from these businesses. They are businesses. So that's my opinion. I think it's something we should pursue.
They are commercial. We had a resident affected by a short-term rental application specifically ask for it after we did some preliminary research. And I don't know where else, if other towns in the area are drawing revenue on this, and Airbnbs are such a hot topic of, people buying properties in a town where you'd want to raise children and renting them out to vacationers who leave garbage. It's a whole, I don't feel so negatively about asking for that revenue to go to solve some of the problems that causes in our town. And also, I don't think we're really betraying anyone, mainly because the short-term rental registry is so small currently that, 3 to 5 prior approvals currently? On the actual list I got from Ben, there's only 5 maybe rentals.
You're welcome to forward it. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Okay. All right.
Do you oppose the hotel motel aspect?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, so you're
Okay.
pro hotel motel tax, but not necessarily.
the-
They are small business owners, so I understand the point he's making.
Okay.
All right, moving on, we can continue this discussion.
Okay, item 9.8, resolution for calling on the town of Monroe to allocate any additional ARPA funds to the preservation of Museum Village.
This was also just a holdover from last time. I don't necessarily think this was this was voted, we're at an impasse where there was no action, but then if we don't have any additional ARPA funds or unspent ARPA funds to dedicate to Museum Village, I actually made the subsequent motion that a committee be created. And I think that motion was that I'd be happy to be the liaison to the committee investigating any intervention that the town of Monroe could have on behalf of Museum Village, and that was also at an impasse. So in light of, the presentations that we've been given and plan to attend and the importance of Museum Village in the community, I'll make another motion that, a committee be formed to investigate any intervention that the town of Monroe any intervention that the town of Monroe can impart to aid Museum Village in its time of need based on this resolution before us, calling on the importance and explaining the importance of Museum Village to the community. And I'm happy to be the liaison. I would like to be a member of said committee.
So the motion is to include
I don't
you
know what the
as...
motion is.
The motion is to create a committee to investigate any intervention on behalf of the town to assist Museum Village in their time of need, and I'd like to be on the committee. And a committee, just to explain, the motion is done, to explain it. Do I have to wait for a second for discussion, or can I explain it now?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. A committee in a typical fashion is to do work outside of the board meetings, to do research, to attend, the presentations like the ones on September 10th, to create findings, and perhaps there are several, methods of intervention that the town could pursue, like purchasing it or having the county purchase it. But we would like to deliberate on those options that are very intricate and can't be explained in this setting. We'd investigate that and present findings during what is supposed to be the liaisons or special reports section of the board. So it's not a commitment to anything except that I'm authorized to sort of go investigate what we can do and make a presentation and bring back to council so that we can all work on what we would like to do and what we may be able to do as a municipality rather than individuals to help Museum Village.
I don't disagree with it in theory. I just don't think that we need a committee for it.
It's just
I don't
formal way.
disagree with looking into ways of helping Museum Village. I just don't think that we need to necessarily establish a committee for it. But that's just me. I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks.
I'm okay with it.
Brian told me this is the way. So if, it's the way in Robert's rules, this is just a project I've adopted. I'm essentially bringing
I'm okay with it. Let it
And
rip.
obviously there's so many angles that we could work from given tonight's presentation. I think it needs investigation outside the meeting. So
Here's what I would recommend. I think you should attend the September 10th meeting. And then I think at the September 16th meeting, you should give us a presentation on what you learned from that.
I mean, basically, I'm just getting authorization. Whether it's required or not by law, I don't know. It was just recommended to me by council that this is what I do. If I'm interested in a project, bring it to the board for approval prior, get people's feelings, investigate the possibilities, and then behind the scenes, we choose a route. And then that formal resolution goes to Dylan or Brian to review so that when it comes here, it's more the flavor of the board and more likely to pass.
Move faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
we
I'm
have a motion on the
authorized.
floor. We have a motion on the floor. Do you
So I
want
think
to
we need
call-
to amend it, though, because I don't think we need the committee
I gotta be
portion
honest
of
with you,
it.
I don't think we need a motion. She's welcome to go to the meeting and bring it back to
No,
us.
of course, but it's just the committee is like a formal declaration that the town of Monroe has an investigative committee.
It could be a
to
committee
assist.
of one.
Yeah, it's a liaison.
So you want to be the liaison? I'll make a motion, you're the liaison. But you didn't like.
Thank you.
You didn't like
second.
liaisons, so
I don't like your definition of liaisons.
I will second.
call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardo and I.
Full aye.
Richardson, nay. No, just kidding. Yay.
Okay, so the other aspect of that is, I just want to be clear. You cannot use ARPA money.
No, I don't have any money. Where am I going to get it?
I know, but you made this resolution, so I just want to be clear. You cannot use ARPA money, number one, even if we had any, because the 7% of Museum Village that is in the town of Monroe doesn't have any buildings. So there's nothing that can be given to them. And I will tell you that based on the ARPA regulations, you're not going to be able to use it anyway. So.
Because they're not a 501c3. We qualified that, right? The ARPA can be used to benefit venues such as this, but I obviously didn't have the opportunity to speak with council to find extremely minute details like the buildings on our property, or not on our property. I don't know. That's why I brought it forth to investigate further with council, but.
Listen, I spoke to other supervisors and I spoke to our finance department. You can't use ARPA money for an entity like this because you're essentially taking dollars away from taxpayers that were given to you by the federal government. And if the federal government came back and investigated the situation, that burden would then be for us to possibly pay back that money.
There was no implication of illegal use of ARPA funds. They provide federal funding to assist communities in recovering, and that also supports Museum Village and the category of
No, there's no category that Museum Village could be found in.
It's
Well, but-
educational programming.
Right, Mr. Lemansky did touch upon that they weren't able to keep their full-time staff on, and that's why they didn't get as much ARPA money as,
He could apply for
He
ARPA
could,
money.
right.
We can't give them ARPA money.
no, but if she wants to investigate the possibility that, maybe the county, I don't know, she's going to investigate.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what this was.
That's fine. I'm just
yeah,
saying,
that's
we
it.
as a municipality
Yeah.
cannot give.
So we investigated part of it, and that was our preliminary finding from our talks with finance, was that it may be impossible for us
Right.
to collaborate in that way. So we'll pursue it. We'll follow up.
Okay. Public comment?
Public comment.
No public comment? Okay. I don't believe we have any executive session.
Can I make a motion from the floor quickly? Ready?
Motion.
Well, I'm going to read it. So I would like to make a resolution to amend the Town of Monroe meeting rules governing public comment and decorum in order for it to formally apply to all committees, bodies, and boards. And now I would like basically to amend, if it is becoming a universal policy, to make the language more universal and uniform, switching out as necessary the term town supervisor as it currently applies, in my opinion, what I believe to be the legal consensus here, to just the town board meetings, to chairpersons or presiding officers. So whereas the town board seeks to ensure that these rules of decorum are clearly communicated to the public, I would also like this to be included that we post them within the meeting hall. Whereas the existing Town of Monroe meeting rules governing public comment and decorum are currently applicable to town board meetings and refer specifically to the town supervisor, there needs to be a formal extension of these rules to apply universally to all committees, bodies, and boards with appropriate language amendments.
So this would apply to planning board meetings, ZBA meetings, Conservation Commission meetings, any,
Until such bodies come up with their own rules of conduct and decorum.
Can you possibly send what you want to do to us in writing, and then we could address it at the next meeting?
Well, I made the motion. You can just table this one, and I can send it to Valerie.
Well, does anybody want a second?
table till next meeting, and,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay. So I'll make a motion, table
Well-
till next meeting, so that Councilwoman Richardson could send it to Nugent's office for review,
Council?
and council.
Well, so what do we do?
I'll second it.
Wait,
Call
what do
the
we do?
question.
What do we do with the
We have a-
original open
excuse me,
question?
We have a second.
We had an
We had a
open
table.
question.
I think
Go
this
ahead.
is a motion and a
Bingham, aye.
motion.
I'm calling
You're gonna s-
Cardone, aye.
You're going to
Full
send
aye.
that.
We had, so how is she writing up the original motion that I made? Is it denial or is it a motion?
It's tabled.
Okay.
So that it can be sent
tabling
to
it.
Nugent's office.
Okay.
for
No, I know
council.
that.
Okay.
I know that's what our goal is. I'm just saying, how is
Okay,
it going to
can
look?
you just vote on it? So we're tabling it.
Okay. Aye.
Okay, so moved.
And I need if you can please send that to me in
Yes.
Word for the minutes.
So is it going to say nay under the, or how will?
I have no idea. I have to re-listen to the video
That's what
because
I'm
I am very confused.
We had an
Okay,
open.
you had a motion. Mary made a motion to table it. The motion was seconded. We voted, so it's tabled to next meeting.
That make, that
It
good?
wasn't, the original motion was never seconded.
Never seconded.
So the original motion never moved forward to a vote.
Okay.
And then Mary made a motion to table it so that we could review it, because there's no way that we could vote on,
It's not seconded. It doesn't even all right. That's,
if it's not seconded, it doesn't move forward.
it's fine. It's fine. You'll fix it in post.
You could just send me that. Thank you.
Okay. Good discussion? Motion to adjourn at 9:25.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.